Check the front of the headphone back first. Magic ring. Crochet down to bring out the thread. Thread through the loop. Hook a CH chain stitch. Then hook 2 more chains. Knit 12 DC double crochet in the first loop. Crochet DCs are wrapped around the thread. Winding the thread brings the thread out. Winding the wire through the first 2 coils. Winding through the last 2 coils. This is 1 DC. We mark the first DC's pin. The CH we just checked here doesn't count as a stitch. The mark is the first stitch. And then continue with 11 more DCs. Now after 12 DCs, tighten the coil. Then SSSL stitch with the first DC slip stitch. This is the same stitch that is used to make the marker clasp. Crochet through a whole stitch. Wrap the thread around to bring the thread out of the stitch. Bring the thread directly out of the loop again. This is a slip stitch. Then the second loop is hooked. The same 3 chains. The second lap is 12 FVS. That's 2 DCs on 1 stitch. Each loop is worked from the slip stitch. One DC. Hook 2 DC. This is an FV. I can't remember the purpose of the needle. You can mark the first stitch of each round. Continue to hook 11 more FVS. 12 FVS, hook and slip stitch with first stitch. Hook ACH. Hook AHDC half double crochet on the third loop first. Wrap the thread around the needle, wringing the thread out, threading the wire through all coils at once. This is 1 HDC. This is the same pin entry. Hook ADC and wind the thread. Bringing the thread out of the winding, threading the wire through the first 2 coils. Re-wrap the wire through the last 2 coils. This makes 1 DC. If you can't count the stitches, mark them. Then hook an FV on the next stitch. Then the next stitch is a DC. The next stitch is an FV. One DC, 1 FV in a group. Repeat for a total of 4 groups. DC, FV, DC, FV, three groups. DC, FV, four groups. Then hook ADC and HDC in the next stitch. Next stitch, slip stitch. Next stitch, hook an HDC and a DC. FV, DC, FV, one DC, 1 FV, 1 group, 4 repetitions in total. DC, FV, 2 groups. DC, FV, 3 groups. DC, FV, four groups. And then the next stitch. Hook ADC and HDC. Slip stitch on the last stitch. Then for the fourth stitch we need to change to the red yarn. Slip stitch with the first stitch. Then switch to red yarn. Bring in the thread. This hooks ACH. On the fourth loop, leave one stitch empty. That's the same stitch that you just slip stitched without hooking it. Then single crochet on his next stitch. Place the red yarn on the needle for the stash. Again, mark the first stitch. Then take ink increase on the next stitch. That is 2 SC in one stitch. Four more inks in a row. Now we have 5 inks. Now hook 11 SCs in a row. After 11 SC, slip stitch 1 stitch. Work into the previous stitch where you hooked the slip stitch. And then proceed to take 11 SC. After the 11 SCs are hooked, 5 more ink hooks in a row. and then 1SC. Then 1 empty stitch without ASC on the last slip stitch of the previous round. Perform a slip stitch. Then hook 6CH. Once hooked, we slip stitch with the first stitch where we made the marker clasp. Break the thread after the slip stitch, bringing out the yarn head, and then cut off the yarn head on the opposite side. And hide this yarn head on the back. Hide a few stitches for him. After a few stitches, you can break the thread. Next, crochet the reverse side of the headphone bag. Magic ring. Hook ACH, and then continue with 2 more CHs. The hook is the same as the first 2 loops on the front. 12 DC in the first loop. After weaving, tightening the loop. Slip stitch with first needle. hook 3ch. Then hook 12 FVs on the second loop. Slip stitch with the first stitch when done. Hook ACH. Hook a slip stitch on the third loop. And then remark this slip stitch. Next stitch. 1 HDC and 1 DC. The next one is a set of 4 repeats. 1 FV and ADC as a group. Repeat for a total of 4 groups. After 4 sets of hooks. Next stitch hook an FV. Then the next stitch is ADC and an HDC. Next stitch hook a slip stitch. Hook an HDC and ADC in the next stitch. Next are 4 repeating stitches. One FV and ADC for a group of 4 repetitions. After 4 repetitions, next stitch hook and FV. Next stitch 1 DC and 1 HDC. After hooking up the 4th loop, we are going to slip stitch where we marked the buckle. And then we'll hook ACH. Next, an empty stitch. The slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch. His next stitch is empty, and then start ticking on the next stitch. Make a mark. Then tick 5 ink. After the 5 inks are hooked, 11 consecutive SC hooks. After 11 SC hooks, slip stitch. And then go on to tick 11 more SC. After the 11 SCs are hooked, hook 5 ink. After 5 ink hooks, hook another SC. Then 1 empty stitch without hook, slip stitch on the next stitch. Next hook 40 ch. Then slip stitch with the position of the marking clasp. After the slip stitch is done, the thread is broken. Hide this yarn head in the back. Hide a few stitches on the reverse side. Once hidden, you can cut off the yarn head. Next, sew the two pieces together. From here is ink and SC. From here is ink and SC. And then corresponds to the ink and SC stitches here. Pick up the inner half of the needle. Then stitch. Sew it to the SC and ink positions on this side. After sewing, we'll hide the yarn head. and then we break the thread. We'll hide a few more stitches on the back side and break the thread. And similarly, we'll hide the threads on this side. Next, we are going to crochet the rhizome. Tie a knot and hook 7 cheese. Then weave back from the penultimate 5SC. Hook an HDC on the last stitch. Hook ACH. Disconnect. Next is the leaf hook. Starting with the knot first, crochet hook pressing down on the thread, forming a loop. Then the wire is wound and brought into the coil. There you go. And then hook 8CH. Then hook back from the penultimate stitch. Pick up the penultimate stitch, half of it. Hook SC. You can mark the first SC's needle entry. Then hook an HDC on the next stitch. Crochet the HDC around the thread. Threading the needle. Winding the thread to bring the thread out. Winding threads or coils at once. This is 1 HDC. Start hooking the next stitch. Hook 3 DCs in a row. The DCs are hooked around the thread. Threading the coil, winding with outgoing coil, winding wire through the first 2 coils at once. Rewind the last 2 coils. This is a DC. 2 more DCs in a row. And then 1 HDC for the next stitch. Three SCs on the last stitch. After the 3 SC are hooked, we then crochet on the other remaining half of the stitches. We've just hooked 3 SC here. Leave the remaining half of the stitch unhooked, then enter the needle at his next stitch. Check an HDC on this stitch. We can put this thread on the needle, performing a stash of threads. Next 3 DCs in a row. Hook an HDC in the next stitch. Check an SC on the last remaining stitch. After this, we will slip stitch with the first stitch on this side. Next, we hook ACH. Disconnect. While pulled out. This is the front side. We'll hide the thread on the reverse side a couple of stitches. After hiding a few stitches, cut off both of these excess yarn ends. Finally, we glue the leaf on top. First, we fix the rhizome. Once it's in place, we'll tie a knot in the back. And then we break the line. And then glue it in place. And finally, the kernel is sewn on. This is how an Apple headphone bag is finished.